All right, good morning, everybody. How are we doing today with that time change for those who are living in places that observe it? Yeah. So, we are doing lesson number 72 of A Course in Miracles, and I'm noticing a pattern here. The title of this lesson is Holding Grievances is an Attack on God's Plan for Salvation. So once again, Jesus is walking us through concepts and layering in a new way of combining all these things together so that we can get the most juice out of the squeeze here. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plans for salvation. And yesterday, we were talking about only God's plan will work for salvation. So basically, when we hold grievances, big and small, we're attacking God. And how futile is that? We're saying that our ego knows best, knows better than God. So let's dive into this one and see if you can feel into the places where there are these layers of guidance coming in and really get deeply into your mind and unpack any of your grievances. I'm actually having a little Facebook discussion right now, and there's a person who responded to two different posts that I put up. And in my mind, I'm noticing, okay, do I want to attack him? Yes, there's a part of me that does. But then there's also a part of me that says, okay, he sees this issue, whatever it is, differently. He's still my brother. I love him. I accept him. I'm expressing my opinion about this, and I don't want to attack him. So I think it's really important, especially on social media, to notice where you're holding these grievances, because there are no exceptions. Like, either you're holding grievances or you're not. And social media is a great place that it lures us into the battleground and the temptation to attack because it's so impersonal. So just something to throw out there. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. While we have recognized that the ego's plan for salvation is the opposite of God's, we have not yet emphasized that it is an active attack on his plan and a deliberate attempt to destroy it. In the attack, God is assigned the attributes which are actually associated with the ego, while the ego appears to take on the attributes of God. The ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. In fact, the ego is the physical embodiment of that wish, for it is that wish that seems to surround the mind with a body, keeping it separate and alone, and unable to reach other minds except through the body that was made to imprison it. I'm going to read that again. In fact, the ego is the physical embodiment of that wish, for it is that wish that seems to surround the mind with a body, keeping it separate and alone, and unable to reach other minds except through the body that was made to imprison it. The limit on communication cannot be the best means to expand communication, yet the ego would have you believe it is. Although the attempt to keep the limitations that a body would impose is obvious here, it is perhaps not so apparent why holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. But let us consider the kinds of things you are apt to hold grievances for. Are they not always associated with something a body does? A person says something you do not like my Facebook example. He does something that displeases you. He betrays his hostile thoughts in his behavior. You are not dealing here with what that person is. On the contrary, you are exclusively concerned with what he does in a body. You are doing more than failing to help in freeing him from the body's limitations. You are actively trying to hold him to it by confusing it with him and judging them as one. Oh, that's good. Herein is God attacked, for if his Son is only a body, so must he be as well. A creator wholly unlike his creation is inconceivable. If God is a body, what must his plan for salvation be? What could it be but death? In trying to present himself as the author of life and not death, he is a liar and a deceiver, full of false promises and offering illusions in this place of truth. The body's apparent reality makes the view of God quite convincing. In fact, if the body were real, it would be difficult indeed to escape this conclusion. And every grievance that you hold insists that the body is real. It overlooks entirely what your brother is. It reinforces your belief that he is a body and condemns him for it. And it asserts that his salvation must be death, projecting this attack onto God and holding him responsible for it. To this carefully prepared arena where angry animals seek for prey and mercy cannot enter, the ego comes to save you. God made you a body. Very well. Let us accept this and be glad. As a body, do not let yourself be deprived of what the body offers. Take the little you can get. God gave you nothing. The body is your only savior. It is the death of God and your salvation. Ugh. This is the universal belief of the world you see. Some hate the body and try to hurt and humiliate it. Others love the body and try to glorify and exalt it. But while the body stands at the center of your concept of yourself, you are attacking God's plan for salvation and holding your grievances against him and his creation, that you may not hear the voice of truth and welcome it as friend. Your chosen Savior takes his place instead. It is your friend. He is your enemy. We will try today to stop these senseless attacks on salvation. We will try to welcome it instead. Your upside-down perception has been ruinous to your peace of mind. You have seen yourself in a body and the truth outside of you, locked away from your awareness by the body's limitations. Now we are going to try to see this differently. The light of truth is in us, where it was placed by God. It is the body that is outside us and is not our concern. To be without a body is to be in our natural state. To recognize the light of truth in us is to recognize ourselves as we are. To see ourselves as separate from the body is to end the attack on God's plan for salvation and to accept it instead. And wherever his plan is accepted, it is accomplished already. Sounds pretty easy. Our goal in the longer practice periods today is to become aware that God's plan for salvation has already been accomplished in us. To achieve this goal, we must replace attack with acceptance. As long as we attack it, we cannot understand what God's plan is for us. We are therefore attacking what we do not recognize. Now we are going to try to lay judgment aside and ask what God's plan for us is. And then here's our lesson, what we would say during the lesson. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Then we will wait in quiet for his answer. We have attacked God's plan for salvation without waiting to hear what it is. We have shouted our grievances so loudly that we have not listened to his voice. We have used our grievances to close our eyes and to stop our ears. Now we would see and hear and learn. What is salvation, Father? Ask and you will be answered. Seek and you will find. We are no longer asking the ego what salvation is and where to find it. We are asking it of truth. Be certain then that the answer will be true because of whom you ask. Whenever you feel your confidence wane and your hope of success flicker and go out, repeat your question and your request, remembering that you are asking of the infinite creator of infinity, who created you like himself. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. He will answer. Be determined to hear. 1 or perhaps 2 shorter practice periods an hour will be enough for today, since they will be somewhat longer than usual. These exercises should begin with this. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. What is salvation, Father? Then wait a minute or so in silence, preferably with your eyes closed, and listen for his answer. Excellent meditation for today. All right, let's see what A Year of Forgiveness has to say about lesson number 72. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. You are blessed beings indeed. I am that one that you know as Jesus. This lesson brings to mind things like gossip and telling stories about people. It is important for you, when you witness these behaviors in yourself, to use these lessons as a counter to that tendency. Now remember, this is a training program. We do not seek for perfection from you. You are learning how to behave completely different. You are learning how to completely understand a new way to look at things, a new language. You would not expect yourself to learn fluent Russian in a month or a year. Funny, it's Russian, isn't it? You understand you must immerse yourself in a practice to learn another language. You must even travel to another country to truly become bilingual. That is really what we seek to do here. We seek to teach you another language. When you reflect on behaviors you witness in yourself, first of all, acknowledge that you witness them. There is a behavior, a body saying things, and then there is you saying, look at you gossiping about Susie or Jane. Who is the witness? The witness is the being connected to Source. The body playing out the ego's plan for salvation can be seen and witnessed by you. So we want you to identify with the you, with the small y that gossips. We want you to step back and be the big you, the you with the big Y, the one who is aware, and say, look at what you're doing. There are two yous. How interesting. Who's in charge here of this body? This is what we want you to see, the unevolved and evolved aspects of your consciousness. The unevolved is the body-identified ego consciousness that seeks to attack, divide, conquer, and take. Then there is the other observant, less reactive, kinder, loving, and aware part of your consciousness. We seek to develop that one as the predominant energy. The trouble with these systems is they are complete systems. So when you are in the ego, you are not observing the ego. When you are angry at someone, you are down in the battleground. When you observe your behavior, you have stepped above the battleground and can make different decisions. Observe where you play out your grievances, like social media. Observe where you tell stories about people. Observe that and begin to witness how you understand there are two yous here. There is the one in the battleground that takes over sometimes, and then there is the loving, kind, seeking, and awakening part of your consciousness. Some mythologies describe this as dark wolf or the black wolf and the white wolf. Which one do you feed? We now only feed the white wolf. We now only feed that conscious, loving awareness. Observe when you do these negative behaviors and understand that it is not who you are. Let them go and see that this behavior separates you from rising above the battleground. Every time you step down into your grievances, you are at war. You are in it. You suffer, not because you are being punished, but because you are down in the battleground in dualistic teachings. You are in there are good guys and bad guys, and I'm the innocent one, and you are the bad one. This is why forgiveness is such an important practice. In practicing forgiveness, once you have participated in the dualistic battleground, you once again step above the battleground and say, I do not want to continue that war I participated in. As you evolve, as you learn, practice, and come to identify with these lessons about this teaching, you find more peace. You begin to choose voluntarily to step above the battleground. You see that indulging your grievances is not worth it. You do not like the feeling. You do not like the seeds it sows. And you do not like the bitter crop that is the harvest. I am that one that you know as Jesus, and we will see you again tomorrow. Okay, holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Good luck with that one today, everyone, and I will see you back again tomorrow. Take care.